Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 4th of June 2021 in the morning. Got lots to get through today. There's been so much going on in the world of sport over the last week or so. So, without any further ado, let's get on with it. We'll start by looking back at the Champions League final. Hard to believe it, it's only like 6 days ago since the game took place, but it seems like an eternity ago. And Chelsea were successful, beating Manchester City in the final by 1 goal to 0. Winning goal scored by Kai Havertz. Um, I personally thought that Manchester City would win this game. Quite clearly, I was wrong, and they just didn't seem to turn up on the evening of the match. Losing Kevin De Bruyne probably 2/3 of the way through the game didn't help, but he hadn't performed really until that point anyway. You never know what he might have produced, but it's all ifs and might have beens now. But it didn't happen, and they lost, and basically they just didn't perform. I think they had one shot on target in the whole match, which wasn't very good. So disappointing for them, but well done to Chelsea. Deserved to win on the night. So it's nice to see a British team win again. Personally, I'd have preferred Man City to win, but hey ho, that's the way it goes. Moving on from that, we're going to now talk about the weekend for Halifax Town, FC Halifax Town. It was a disappointing end in some ways to the season, in the fact that they were beaten 2-1 by Chesterfield at the Shea in the final game of the season, which meant indirectly meant that they missed out on the playoffs. As it turned out, even if they'd won the match, they would still not have qualified because they had missed out on goal difference. It's a shame that we couldn't do it. We've had a good season though. I know they finished 10th, but they still performed well this season. Pete Wilder manager will probably point to a few key events during the season as to where it might have gone wrong, but he's still happy, I think, overall with how the team's performed. I know in an interview with Halifax Kerry stated that he'd like to keep 95% of the current squad. I know some of them are under contract anyway. Of having said that, Danny Williams has tweeted in the last day or so that he is leaving the club. Under what circumstances we don't know at this stage, but he's leaving. So personally, I'd liked him to stay, but obviously Wild's got his reasons for not keeping him. So we'll see if he's got a replacement lined up already. But I'd like to wish all the best to Danny Williams for his efforts for the club. He's been really good this last 12 or 18 months. So good luck to him in his future endeavours. Moving on to the playoffs for the National League, and they start this weekend, and we've got the two semis. We've got Saturday, I think it's Notts County against Chesterfield. The winner of that goes on to play Torquay in the semi-finals, and then we've got Hartlepool against Bromley on Sunday, and they go on to face Stockport in the semi-finals. So they'll be happening over the next 2 or 3 weeks. The semi-finals on the weekend of the 12th and 13th, and the finals on the 19th, and the winner of that, I think it's at Bristol City actually. Yeah, it's at Bristol City's ground. And they will join Sutton United in the Football League next season after they won the league and got promoted automatically. So it'll be interesting to see who of those 6 teams get up. Personally, I suppose we want to get rid of one of the money teams. So you'd probably say Wrexham or Stockport. Wrexham obviously have got the 2 big backers behind them from Hollywood. But then again, travel-wise, you've got rid of Sutton already, so you might want to get rid of Torquay. Torquay's a nice place to go though, so there's pros and cons of both, but hey, again, we'll see what happens there. So now we're only a week away, moving on to the Euros. We're only a week away from the Euros, and obviously there's been lots of talk about the squads this week in the press, and will Trent Alexander-Arnold, will he be included, will he not be included? He was included, and now he's injured, and he's out. So it's all happened for him. I do feel some sympathy for him. It's not a pleasant thing to happen to anyone. There's been quite a few people commenting on whether it was the right thing to include Henderson, Maguire, who still have injuries. You could even argue Grealish isn't fully fit, although he did play a major part in England's 1-0 friendly victory over Austria on Wednesday evening, setting up the winner for Bukayo Saka. So hopefully he's going to be fit. But we've got a decent squad. We just have to see how we perform now. We're all positive at this stage, and let's hope that we can perform to the best of our ability and we can win the tournament. You've got the players, I'm sure, will believe we can, but we'll see. There are some good countries out there: France, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, Germany, all the usual contenders. They're all going to be there or thereabouts, you'd have thought. I didn't mention Scotland, although they had a good result even against Holland in a friendly where they almost won the match. They drew 2-2. Memphis Depay scored a late equaliser. So we'll have one to watch. Wales got beaten by France. I think it was 3-0, and Nico Williams got sent off. So that's not ideal preparation for them. But not sure how Scotland and Wales will perform. If you're Scottish or Welsh, you're probably shouting at screen now. Come on, get behind our teams. But we'll see. If you've got any comments about Scotland, Wales, or England, or any other aspects of the Euros, please leave them in the comments below. Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to local cricket now, and looking at last weekend's results and fixtures in the Halifax Premier League, and there was a good victory for Bradshaw. They beat Soberbridge Church Institute (SBCI) by 9 wickets. I had a report through from my good friend Simon Collins telling me that there were good batting performances to see the side home from Chris Shannon and Jonathan Lister. So I was very pleased about that. In other results from Saturday, Booth beat Copley by 100 runs. Illingworth St Mary's beat Soberbridge by 38 runs. Thornton beat Blackley by 2 wickets. Triangle comprehensively beat Shelf North Arm Hedgetop by 222 runs. Shelf North Arm were out for 70, all out for 70, and Worley beat Myvenroyd by 32 runs. So decisive results in every game there, no draws at all. So that is good. And for the weekend coming up, we have a big local derby game actually between Bradshaw and Illingworth St Mary's. So that's one. It's at Illingworth, so that's a big game to look forward to this weekend. We've also got Blackley against Triangle, Copley against Soberbridge. We've got Myvenroyd against Booth. We've got Shelf North Arm Hedgetop against Worley, and we've got SBCI at home to Thornton. I also just want to mention, because I didn't mention it last week, I probably should have done, is that it was the first round of the Parish Cup last weekend. So, and again, I got an update from Simon on that game. But unfortunately, Bradshaw were eliminated from the tournament. They were beaten by Triangle. And the update he gave me was that although Bradshaw did a good job and there was an outstanding spell of bowling from Anthony Langton, Triangle are good on their own patch. They performed really well, deserved to win. We know how to make the most of it. So all the best to Triangle in the next round. Okay, so that's the local cricket news. If you've got any cricket news that I've missed out or anything you think I should have covered, again, add it in the comments below. Okay, thank you for that. In terms of Yorkshire took a hammering from Lancashire last week in the county championship. Very disappointing result there. Lancashire taking 22 points, Yorkshire only scoring a 1 point. They were beaten by more than an innings. Disappointing. They are still second in the group, but they're being caught now. They're only 2 points or 3 points ahead of the team in third place. But Lancashire are moving ahead, and they've got to be considered probably the favourites now. We're getting to the point where we're going to take a break from the county championship after the current round of games, and the T20 Blast games start next week. I had an email yesterday from Yorkshire inviting me to buy one of the remaining 700 tickets for the first T20 Blast game at home next Thursday, I think it is, the 10th, against Birmingham Bears. So Mike Jakeman, I'm guessing you might go to that. I'm sure some of my other friends will be interested in going to that, like Terry. They'll be looking to go to games like that. So hopefully it's good the weather for next Thursday, and hopefully Yorkshire can come out on top. With regards to the Test match, England on to day 3 today against New Zealand. Fighting back now after a good opening performance by New Zealand with the bats. They won the toss, chose the bat, scored 378, including a debut double century for Devon Conway. It was around for 200. I think it's probably something like the 5th or 6th highest score ever by a Test cricketer on his debut appearance. I know he's in the top 10 when he scored about 160, 170, so he must be in the top 5, I would have thought, after that. But it's a great performance. I'd seen him play before for New Zealand one-day games, and he looked quite talented, so he could be one to watch long-term for the future. England, in reply, I think are 106 for 2, something like that. I might actually know 111 for 2 just there. Nelson. Good performances so far. Rory Burns has got an unbeaten half century, and Joe Root's got just past 40 now, so let's hope they can solidify their status at the crease this morning, and we can get back at least on level terms by the end of day 3 and make something of it, which is a short series. There's only 2 games in the series, but New Zealand obviously are playing India in a Test Championship starting on the 18th of June, so these are 2 back-to-back tests for England against New Zealand, and obviously New Zealand move on to that big match against India later in the month. Moving away from cricket now, and we're going to move on to Speedway, and the Speedway season's pretty much well underway now. We've been going for around 3 weeks, and after a few matches, Bellevue are top of the league. They've got 10 points. They've had 4 matches, 2 victories, 2 draws, including a draw at home. On Monday they drew Peterborough at home. They drew at home 45 all, but they won 50-40 at Peterborough on Monday evening. So unbeaten so far. Dan Bewley's form's been very good this season. He scored his first ever maximum in Poland last Sunday. He scored paid 14 plus 1 maximum at Zelona Gora for Wroclaw. And then on Monday, he scored a 15-point full maximum at home to Peterborough, and he scored 14 at Peterborough in the evening. He may well have had a maximum there. Unfortunately, he touched the tapes in the first race. He had to go for the 15-metre handicap, but he still fought his way through to second, but couldn't quite catch Scott Nicholls. So he missed out on a maximum, but a great form by him so far. Solid scoring from Brady Kurtz as well so far. He's had pretty reliable scores, and an impressive debut on the track at Peterborough. He's never ridden there before, but Tom Brennan scored 8 plus 2 on the first time he'd seen the track at Peterborough. That's a performance. So we just need to get the Worrell boys going now. Steve and Richie have struggled a little bit so far this season, but they're going. I'm sure they'll get better as the season goes on. Bearing in mind they didn't ride at all really last season. A lot of the riders didn't ride. Haven't ridden for nearly 2 years, some of them, so they'll be a bit rusty. But they're doing well. Wolves have started well as well. They lost last night at Sheffield 49-41, but they are second in the league with 7 points. And they're up there with Ipswich, who, again, they've started fairly well, but they've had a couple of injuries. Jason Crump took a nasty knock at Wolverhampton on Monday evening. He suffered at least 5 broken ribs. He'll be out for several weeks. The crash was horrendous. He flew up in the air, went very high in the air, and he's lucky it wasn't worse. And like I say, he's 46 now, so he doesn't want to be getting too many injuries at this stage of his career. So they suffered that, and also Jordan Stewart was injured at Birmingham on Wednesday night, so they had him missing last night. And they got beaten by Kingsley in the last heat decided, lost 44-46. Kingsley snatching it at the end. So a good performance for them at Ipswich in the big derby match. So we'll see how the season pans out. We've got, I think it's Peterborough and Kingsley. There's a live match on Eurosport on Monday. I haven't had that 100% confirmed. That's what it showed in the schedule though, so I suggest that would suggest that it's going to be right. So keep your eyes peeled for that. In terms of stock cars, it was a successful return to the stadium at Odsal on Monday. I really enjoyed the meeting. A good turnout, 68 cars. The 2020 Chase Final was the first race for the Rainbow Roof, which was won by Lee Fairhurst. My friend Dave from Bury would like to point out that he is still a Lancastrian, even though he now lives in Ossett. So I tried to claim him for Yorkshire. He's a former world champion, so we want all the world champions we can get in Yorkshire, because it's a county full of world champions, isn't it? Quite clearly. The meeting final itself was won by Nigel Green, who's also a former world champion. The top 4 in the final were Nigel Green and Lee Fairhurst was second, Tom Harris was third, and Frankie Wayman Jr. was fourth. They were probably the 4 highest rated ranked drivers in the world at the moment, in my opinion, for all former world champions. Or in fact, Tom Harris is the current world champion, having won it in 2019. There was no world final last year. Don't forget the world final this year is at Odsal on Saturday the 11th of September. So it was a great meeting. Looking forward to the next one, which is next Saturday the 12th of June. The first big championship meeting of the season takes place this weekend, which is Saturday evening. That's at Skegness Stadium. All the top guys over there, no doubt. And again, the 4 I've mentioned already will be in with a shout of winning that. You can probably throw into the mix Ryan Harrison as well, who won his heat at Odsal on Monday. And Dan Johnson, who had a poor meeting by his standards, didn't score a single point. But again, he's a threat. He's one of the top drivers, and he'll be there, no doubt. So the only disappointment on Monday evening was that former 8-time world champion John Lund was unable to make it. He had to cancel on the day of the meeting simply because he had some issues on the farm that he runs with some machinery. But his wife has sent out a message on Facebook to say that he's definitely intending to race again. He's not retired, and he will be out shortly. He's looking forward to it. So I'm looking forward to seeing Lundy again. Hopefully it will be at Odsal, maybe it will be next meeting. So fingers crossed for that. Moving on from the stock cars now, we're going to talk about tennis. I forgot to mention the tennis last weekend. The French Open is well underway now. We're nearly at the halfway point. Most of the top players are still in. I can't see past Rafa Nadal for the men's title. You know, he's so dominant on clay. But he has got competition with Novak Djokovic and Stefanos Tsitsipas. Roger Federer is still in. Probably might not be quite at the top level now as expected or required to play on clay. He's only ever won the French Open once. I think that was 2009. So it's not his preferred surface. And like I said, I think Nadal may win. In the women's tournament, the main story has been about Naomi Osaka pulling out, feeling that it's the right thing to do for her mental health. There was a big hoo-ha last week about having to do a press conference, and she don't want to do them. She feels it'll damage her mental health, and she's decided that the best thing to do is to pull out of the tournament, which is a shame for her. So in the women's draw, it leaves clear favourite really Iga Swiatek, the Polish lady who's won it before, I believe, and Sabalenka from Belarus. She's the second favourite. Serena Williams is still in it, so you never know. Serena's won so many titles, she could still be a threat. But we've, like I say, we're coming up to the vital stage of the tournament next week. I'd say Swiatek and Nadal are probably going to win, but you never know. It could happen in tennis. Okay, so moving on now to Rugby League, and Halifax were beaten last week in the Championship by Featherstone, 16 points to 8. They're doing okay. They're halfway up the league. They've got a big game this Sunday. I think it's 12:45 from what I looked at. They're playing Sheffield, the Sheffield Eagles, so they'll be looking to get back on the right tracks with a victory Sunday. Sheffield in the past have seemed to have proven to be somewhat of a bogey team over the years, so they'll be looking to finish them off. Hopefully, like I said, they can get another victory and close the gap on the top teams to lose Featherstone and Bradford Bulls. Bulls having a successful return to Odsal by beating York last Sunday. In the world of darts, Johnny Clayton won the Premier League darts last Friday evening. After I mentioned the best value in the betting for the semi-finals were on Clayton and D'Souza, it turned out them two got to the final. And whilst both the semi-finals were really tight, Clayton I think beat Van Gerwen 10-8 and D'Souza beat Aspinall 10-9. The final was a little bit more one-sided. It wasn't poor from Jose D'Souza, but Clayton always looked like he was going to win the final, and he was comfortable in the end. I think it was 11 legs to 5 in the end up, something like that. So well done to Johnny Clayton. He played really well all week, and he deserved to win it. So well done. This weekend is a big weekend in horse racing, and today is the Oaks at Epsom Downs, and also Epsom tomorrow it's the Derby. Now I'm not really been following the flat season too close. I've seen some of the racing on TV, but I'm more of a jumps fan anyway, to be fair. But I have seen some of the races, and looking at the odds for today and tomorrow, for the Oaks first of all, Santa Barbara is a clear favourite, and that's ridden by Ryan Moore. Other horses you may have heard of that are taking part in the race that have got good performance historically are Dubai Fountain and Saffron Beach, so they may be worth keeping an eye on. And then in the Derby tomorrow, we've got the favourite is Bolshoi Ballet. We've got Mohafef, and we've also got John Leaper. John Leaper, his odds are somewhere around 9 or 10 at the moment, but he's been ridden by Frankie Dettori. Never rule out Frankie in a big race. Frankie's always there, capable of winning the big races. So that's a reason why he might be one to watch. I think Bolshoi Ballet is likely to win, but anything can happen in horse racing, as we all know. So I think that covers most of the sporting activity of the last week and what's coming up as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this week. It's a little bit longer than normal because there's been more to cover. You know, let's hope the sun keeps shining, the weather stays nice, we get some good sport, and we're coming into Euros next week when I'll be looking at it in a little bit more detail. Until then, it's goodbye for now.